Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and it's getting close to the middle of June, and it's time for another one of those garden tours brought to you by my sponsors, Vessi Seeds and Safer's Gardening Products. We're gonna go have a look around. Let's go. All right, so I decided to come out here before dawn. The sun hasn't risen yet; it's just about to rise. It's a beautiful morning. I'm outside the garden right now, and just showing you what I got planted in these sort of raised beds. These were supposed to be compost piles, but I had too many animals in my compost, so I just grow stuff in them. Anyway, I planted potatoes here. They haven't all come up yet, but some of them have. The ones that were, I guess, planted a bit shallower are up. Right, got some potatoes up here, but not a lot. I only planted these, a couple weeks ago, I think. Here, I mean, these are garlic that I don't remember planting, but they came up, so I just let them go. But I got squash here. These have to be thin. There's like 3 growing here. I got to choose a winner, as I always say. Same here, right? It's just going to be one squash this whole bed, eventually. Okay, in the garden here. God, what a lovely morning. I got a bed here. I mean, I'm sort of starting with my bad stuff first, I guess. I got a bed here. I planted spinach and lettuce. The spinach grew. The lettuce did not grow at all. And then I reseeded the lettuce, and it's still, this is the only lettuce I can see. So I'm kind of baffled at that, because lettuce is easy to grow. Perhaps the seeds I planted were no good. I can't remember which ones I used. Yeah, I mean, the spinach grew. I got garlic over here. The scapes have not started to form yet, but I imagine they will soon. This is sort of like some sort of Chinese green. I can't remember. It's an Asian green of some kind. I can't remember what it's called. I'll put the name up on the screen. But anyway, it's come in. I mean, you can see in these beds the effect of shade, right? Sunlight, 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 shade. Right? The plants just do not grow. So I planted all the way towards the end, right? But it's only the ones where and look, more shade in this corner, right? So there's less growth. And the plants are being attacked more mercilessly because I guess they're not as strong and not as vigorous, right? Right, where the ones that are getting good sun are doing fine. Isn't that fascinating? Over here we got the bed where I planted lettuce and spinach. They're doing good. The spinach is just about to bolt, in fact. So we've been eating buckets of it because it's not the only bed of spinach I had planted, right? That's good. We'll cut the spinach down, then the lettuce will get more sun, right? Maybe I'll plant something where the spinach was. This is a sort of good bed for greens because it's a little bit shady. That direction is south. I've got basically a wall of leaves. Maybe next year I have to take the tops off some of these trees. I like to leave the trees, but sometimes I'll take the top off just to let more light in. Over here, I think I showed you in a previous video how I'd had a plastic dome over these, and it got really hot one day and I didn't take it off. And it had a really tight seal, and so all the beets on this side, where it's not shady, got nuked. So I replanted them. They're all coming in, but look at these beets. This is the size they'd all be if I had just taken the dome off that day, or just stuck something underneath it, you know, to let the air out, to let the heat out. They'd all be huge like that, which was what I was going for. But anyway, that happens. And over here we got parsnips here. I put this paper between the rows to get the weeds under control. Now I got weeds coming up, you know, in between, so I got to weed it. But basically, by putting the paper down, I eliminated 85% of the weeding work, right? So it basically takes 5 minutes to weed that out. I got to do that soon because, for me, whenever the weeds are higher than the plant, right, that's when you've got a problem, because they'll outcompete the plant for sunlight, right? So you want the plants to, right? You want the plants to be the winners. You want the weeds to be the losers, right? See, now I just changed that whole situation there. And the weeds aren't the worst thing in the world, right? But they definitely can outcompete the plant, and of course they make more weed seeds. So I'm not doing a great job weeding here, but that's the gist of it, right? And maybe I'll do a video on that later on. Here I've got a bed, needs desperately to be mulched, but I've got coriander, cilantro, and carrots interplanted, right? So I'll have a row of coriander, pile of weeds here, but anyway, needs some weeding, but a row of carrots, right? These are carrots coming in great. A row of coriander, a row of carrots. Someone's going to ask, when's the right time to plant carrots? Well, when you see the dandelions turn yellow, that's when you plant carrots. Same thing over here, except this is just all carrots. Right, last year I tried domes, I tried all kinds of tricks for planting carrots. This year I just planted them when I saw the yellow dandelions. Worked out fine. Beans over here, all coming up and doing good. They're all kind of dirty because we had an insane rain, and that's why you want to mulch. Because you get dirt all over your plants and they can't gather as much sun. Right, think of each leaf as like a solar unit, like a solar charger, and ask yourself how well would it charge if it had dirt all over it, right? Not very well. Right, so another good reason to have a mulch. Over here we got beans. These are climbing beans down the middle, and on either side I got spinach. And that spinach is starting to bolt, some of it. Not this one, this is newer. This was planted newer, but the spinach at the end there started to bolt. When it starts to bolt, I just cut the spinach off at the bottom and use the whole plant before it gets too far along that process. Got some potatoes over here. I planted these well over a month ago. Just coming up now, right? But they look healthy, they look good. Here we got a kale bed. Right, so I got a row of kale, row of spinach in the middle, another row of kale. Once the kale, the spinach is going to be done in a month, right? And by then the kale will be so big. The kale is only almost 2 feet wide in terms of its profile. This is a 4-foot wide bed, so 2 rows of kale is about all a bed can support once the kale are full sized and mature. Right? And these kale will need to be thinned out considerably, right? 1 kale every, 18 inches, I think is probably the best way to do it. Rhubarb doing good. Did a video recently on how to deal with that. Over here I got a bed where I've got pickling cucumbers. You can see there's a row. It goes right down the middle. All right, so I have to build a nice big trellis here for them to climb. On either side, I've got dill on one side and parsley on the other. I'm hoping this side's the dill because there's a lot of it. But there's a row here. I'm hoping, I don't know. I see some stuff growing, but I don't see a pattern. Over here I see a definite row, but I don't know if that's parsley or dill. But I need dill for my pickles. I'm gonna I don't know what I planted on the side. I don't know if I planted dill on both sides or dill on one and parsley on the other. But now I'm worried, so I think I'm gonna plant some more dill. When you plant the dill, when you plant the pickles, or when you plant the plants, and the dill should be ready for the pickling once the pickles are ready. It's a little bit late over here with this dill, but if I get it in right away, it should be okay. Yeah, hoping this is dill over here, because it's a nice, I don't know how well you can see it, but it's a nicely defined row. Right, that's the way I do it, and that's all, basically I can make like 10-12 gallons of pickles with that, right? Well, maybe not that much, but a lot. Basically all the pickles I'd want, I make a lot of pickles. That'll do just fine. Down here, just so you can see, here's my grapes, right? This is the stage my grapes are at now. Right, they've just started leafing out. Right, and the leaves are just starting to put out little flower clusters. Right, so that's the state of my grapes, if you want to compare with yours. Down here I got potatoes, going good. Planted some more potatoes along here. You can see the birds were in here looking for worms and stuff like that. But anyway, there's potatoes underneath these leaves, and they'll be up in a week or so, I imagine. Planted these, about 2 weeks ago, so they come up quite fast, right? Here's my raspberry garden that got decimated by some rabbit got through my fence, and basically you can see we're basically chopped off the ends of all the plants, right? These were all like 4 feet high. Now they're not. So you can't win sometimes. Here's a garlic garden where I had a bit of a garlic fail. I talked about that in one of my podcasts. I have to do a video on that. And I have to weed this thing. God, a garden without a mulch is bad. Bad for weeds. Here we've got strawberries. They're all fruit is starting to form up their fruit. They're June bearers, and it is June. So, right, things are starting to happen with the strawberries. It's like we've got a rogue asparagus plant in here with my strawberries. Anyway, they're coming along great. I'm happy with that. These are my tomatoes. I actually did transplants this year. I didn't do any videos on it because I have so little confidence with my ability to do transplants. Anyway, I started these in the south-facing window of my house. I got two different types. These ones are from Vessies. These are, I can't remember what they're called. I can't remember. Anyway, they're a bush variety, fast-growing bush variety. And I got these ones from Annapolis Seeds, based on I've had a podcast with Lee Reich, and he recommended the Amish paste tomato. These are indeterminate, right? They climb. And that's why I did transplants, because you can't buy these anywhere. And I just wanted to try. I'd done another podcast with Nikki Jabor. She gave me some good advice on transplanting. So I decided to give it another try. Anyway, so I think I planted about 6 of these, and I got 4, right? But they're doing pretty good, right? I put these out a couple weeks ago, and it's been very touch and go because we've had so many risks of frost. And they lost some of their leaves, right? You can see some of the earlier damage, right? But generally speaking, they look good, and they're doing fine, and I think they're going to be totally fine. So that's all the tomatoes I got. I had like over a dozen growing, trying to grow, but I only got 9. But anyway, this is going to be a lot of tomatoes. I'm totally fine with this. Here, I always grow. I'm the only person in the house that's really crazy about tomatoes, so I always grow too many, and then I don't know what to do with them. I'm sort of forcing them on everybody. So I think this is probably one good row of strong, healthy plants is probably enough. Over here, I've got a bed. This is all going to be zucchini. Okay, so they're growing. Remember I did that video talking about planting in 3s? Well, look, of the 3 I planted here, I only got 2. Right, of the 3 I planted here, one of them got decimated by slugs or something. Right, of the 3 I planted here, only 1 came up. Right, so I mean, look over here. Of the 3 I planted, 2 came up nice, 1 come up real weak. Right, so I mean, that's why you want to plant in 3s. Look over here. I planted 3. Look at the vigor of this one compared to these 2. Right, this is probably going to be my winner. Right. So that's why you plant in 3s. Right over here, I planted 3 and I only got 1. 1 plant is growing. This one here, that's one too. It's just all smothered by weeds. Right, there's 2 here, but this one is so much bigger than this one. All right, so that's why I plant in 3s. Here I've got some collard greens, growing great. Looks like we got a million weeds coming in as well, but I'm going to mulch this, so it'll be fine. This bed here is, I think this is squash. I can't remember what this is. It's squash. Can't be zucchini, because I know that's zucchini. That's all the zucchini I can handle. This must be squash. I can't remember what type. Sweet Mama, I think, is the variety, I think. Anyway, they're coming. I made this bed a little bit bigger. I forgot to show you over here. This is my Christmas present from my kids, a garden gnome. They both basically thought the garden needed a garden gnome, so I thought I'd have this fellow sort of greeting you as you enter the garden. We agonized over the name this guy should have. I thought Rhubarb Kipling would be a good name, but they said that was a little too pretentious. So I think we settled on Mr. Salt. And I've decided, he's sort of I've got a voice in my head of how he sounds when he talks, and it's sort of like an angry, possibly drunk Burl Ives. I'm really dating myself with that reference. But so he's sort of an alter ego, a sort of grumpy, because he's salty, right? And I may do videos where he answers, he engages in Facebook debates. I see some of the craziest things I've ever heard on Facebook. And I resist the urge to chime in and debate. But Mr. Salt, he's been drinking, so he's got a loose tongue. So he can sort of be a ticked off sort of alter ego. Anyway, this is an idea I'm playing with. My wife says that the Mr. Salt videos will be a big hit, but anyway, Mr. Salt is now the garden greeter. Down this side of the garden, I planted my own saved seed parsnips here, and they never grew. So I actually just planted beans here about a week ago. They're coming up, but man, they're getting attacked. There's no slug bait down here. they're getting hit pretty hard by the slugs. But anyway, they're growing. I'll just plant more. It's not too late to plant beans, right? So they're just some sort of bush bean I got years ago. It was just using up old seeds, basically, right? So I'll just keep hammering this with seeds, and eventually I'll get plants. Big hole here. Something dug a tunnel. That's not a footprint. That's a tunnel. That goes down. Perhaps whatever made the tunnel is eating my beans. Swiss chard that I started back in early April is growing good. I'm going to wait for a string of rainy days and pluck these out and basically populate this area with the Swiss chard. Right? That's the way I like to do Swiss chard. The potatoes growing fine over here on the mulch. Strawberries are coming in just fine over here, right? They don't seem to be forming as big fruits as the other plants. I'm concerned that the soil is a bit too wet here for strawberries, and it was a mistake to plant them here. We'll monitor their progress over the season. If I don't like it, I'll move them in August. It's also not as sunny a spot, right? It doesn't get the afternoon sun. At some point, this is in shade in the afternoon because that direction is west. So, I mean, for strawberries, you want sun. I usually grow potatoes here. You know, I like to rotate crops, but there's so many things that grow in certain places. So, Swiss chard works here, potatoes work here. There's only certain things that'll work here. This would be probably a good lettuce spot. Down here we got the the blueberries. I mean, if I can protect these from the birds, we're gonna have a hell of a lot of blueberries this year. If I can protect them from the birds. Seems like I'm always away for a long weekend when they're perfectly ripe and they come home and they're just gone. I got an insane amount of blueberries, right? You should have heard the bees in these things a few weeks ago, just buzzing, pollinating the heck out of them. It was wonderful. Down here we got the pond. Doing great. I'm going to do a video about this, but the water just will not clear in this thing. It's just going to be like this forever. So I hooked this solar fountain up, and I actually put a tube and sent the water up, and I thought by trickling down over these weeds and through the rocks, it would sort of naturally clear the water, right? There's just a lot of clay in the soil here, so every time it rains, right, all this water comes down from the hill down through here, and you think that would clean it a bit, but it doesn't. So it gets dirty. One day I actually turned on my garden hose with on a really low setting, and I just let it run for hours and hours and hours, and you know, the pond filled up, and that actually did clear the water, right? Because it basically replaced, you know, basically whenever there's a good rain, the water level comes up, but it's dirty, and it takes like weeks for the clay to settle out, right? So by just replacing it with clear water, it actually did work, but that's not functional. Look, the fish are doing fine. They don't care, and actually it protects them, I'm sure, having, you know, a bit of camo, right? But it is nice to see them, right? And there's like, I don't know, I put a total of 18 fish in there. I think I've seen about 2 floaters since we started. So we got 16 minnows in there. And they sort of school up, and they swim in a group, and it's really cool to see them. There's a little frog. I don't know if you can see him. He'll run away if I get too close, but right there's a little frog. I noticed him around. He's very skittish. If I get close, he tends to split. I don't know if you can see him there. That's about as close as I can get without falling in or freaking him out. Well, it's nice to see we got a frog in there. Maybe we'll get some more in there. I don't know how territorial they are. Anyway, enough about the pond. Pond's doing great. Basically maintaining its water level. I mean, the only reason I turned that hose on that one day was just to see if I could clear the water. But I haven't needed to. We're into June now. I mean, it's a relatively rainy place where I live, right? So no liner, no nothing, and it's basically doing fine. The fish are doing fine. There was that one, I haven't fed them at all except for that one day when I had the water clear. I put a little bit of, it's shallow in this corner, so I put a little bit of bread in there. I'm talking like a teaspoon, just to draw them, just so I could see them. Should have filmed that. It was really cool. Anyway, maybe another day I'll clear the water just so you can sort of see. I'll have to do a video on that. I'm talking too much about the pond. It was a fun project getting this thing set up, so I'm a bit obsessed with it. The apple trees are completely budded out, and last year my apple tree, all my apples got eaten by a black bear. I'm afraid of that happening this year. This is the first year that this first variety of apple trees called Sweet 16. First year it's gotten flowers, and I think they've been pollinated, right? So I mean, it's only a few years old, like it's 3 or 4 years old, I can't remember. And basically when I planted it, it was basically just a stick about 2 feet high, right? It was a whip. So, you know, I'll put the number on the screen, how many years it was since it was planted, but it was planted as a whip, just a little 2 foot high stick with dry roots. And now it's a nice looking apple tree, really coming along. Probably planted it a little bit too close to this one, but I only got so much real estate in this garden. Sunchoke's coming in. So, I thought I picked them all, but I didn't. So I'll just let them go. The heck with it, right? That's just one more place I don't have to plant. Right, so those are sunchokes. These are just weeds over here. And over here we got my epic fail blackberry garden. I planted a big, magnificent, beautiful blackberries growing here. And then rabbits got through the fence and cut them down. Still sore about it. Don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Not thinking about it for this year. I got plenty of things growing in the garden. Sometimes you just gotta let some things go for a year and think it over, right? Got some magnificent weeds growing in there, and it looks like, you know, there is some growth, right? But anyway, I don't know what's going on here, and I've decided just not to care for this year. Can't deal with it. Some nice oregano growing next to it. I'm happy about that. Over here, the lingonberries. It's funny, I've got some, I mean, these plants were bigger when they were initially planted, right? But they got nice flowers happening, right? This one here is starting to colonize and fill the whole bed, right? Even going into that corner there. So, I mean, this one here is sort of stuck to itself, right? But generally speaking, I don't do anything with this bed. I just let it go, right? And I'm getting more lingonberry every year. I still haven't gotten enough to make a batch of jam. I think we're going on year 3 now. So I guess it takes time, right? Some things just take time, especially fruiting plants. It takes time to get them to a point where they're productive, in my experience anyway. Over here we got beets, just coming in. These were planted much later than the other ones, so they're just coming in now. But I mean, they're coming in pretty good, right? These are sort of the long cylindrical type, not the short, fat, brown types. These are, again, based on Lee Reich's advice, I started pepper transplants. This is called red Italian pepper, I think. It's one he said was fast growing, etc., etc. So, I mean, they're doing okay. Looks like this one over here is getting attacked by slugs pretty bad. But they've been in the ground for about, I don't know, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Okay, they haven't grown at all since I put them out here. Maybe there's been a tiny bit of new growth, right? Yeah. And I've never have good luck with eggplant and peppers. This year I decided to give them a couple of my best beds in terms of sunlight, soil, right? Things grow really well in this bed, everything I plant. So why not give them some, you know, try my absolute best and see what happens, right? This is a bed of squash. They're coming in great. Over here I got onion sets. They're coming in good. Over here I got artwork broccolini. And man, I mean, I must have planted 40 plants. I always overseed, right? And then you thin later. But now I've only got like, what do we got here? Got 1, 2, there's another little guy. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So from basically I had a row and a row and a row and a row. 1, 2, I had 4 rows, probably you know, 8 plants in each row, and now I've got like 12. But there's really only enough room in this bed, because these things get so big, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only enough room in this bed for 9 anyway. So I'm totally zen about the fact that 70% of these basically did not make it for various reasons. They all came in, they all germinated. I'm sure on my last garden tour I show beautiful, nice rows, but they all got taken out by slugs or snails or God knows, or something, right? Maybe a rabbit got in here and ate them, I don't know. But they all just disappeared, you know, relatively. I noticed one day I was out here and they were just mostly gone. But I got enough left to make a nice broccolini garden. More onion sets over here. This is the bed that was the Egyptian walking onion garden. I decided to replace them with proper onions. I still have Egyptian walking onions elsewhere in the garden. I got all that I need. I don't need a 4x8 bed of Egyptian walking onions. This is parsnips, right? They're coming in pretty good. This is, look at this, just rogue kale. I'm going to have to pluck that out and move it, because it's going to shade out all these plants. But look at that. It just goes to show you can plant kale basically as early as the soil can be worked. It'll grow when it's ready to grow. This kale planted itself, and it's the biggest, best kale I've got in my garden. It's also pest proof. Doesn't seem to have that much pest damage at all on it. So maybe I'll save the seeds. Whenever I see like a kale that just seeded itself and grew without any help, I always want to let that one go to seeds, because it's just like, you know, the super Arnold Schwarzenegger kale. Over here I got, these are my eggplant transplants. And I gotta say, they're not doing good. I mean, this one looks okay. The initial leaves, you can see the perforation, right? They got hammered by flea beetles. So I was out here with the Safer's Endall trying to deal with that. But I mean, that really takes away the plant's ability to gather energy, right? Again, the leaf is like a solar cell. It can only gather energy. If you take away a whole bunch of the leaf material, it's just not going to work that well. That's the only way for the plant to gather energy. So they're all set back drastically, but they're still alive, right? And there's still lots of season left. So I'm going to mulch down. Hopefully the slugs are done with them. And I mean, we'll see what happens, right? But they looked a lot nicer a few weeks ago. And now they're not looking so good. I've had the dome over them a number of times, just to, you know, at night. And even during the day, some days I've tried trying to increase the heat in here. But yeah, I'm just not sure what these need. But they're not doing so good. Yeah, but we'll see what happens, right? We'll just stay with it, right? Keep trying, stay with it, see what happens. They need all the sun where I live, because sun is so hard to get. They're going to need all the sun they can get. Over here I've got a garden that's never that productive. I planted sunchokes in it last fall. This is what sunchokes look like when they start to grow. That's what the leaves look like. So I mean, all of them don't seem to have come up, but we got at least half a dozen sunchokes growing here, and in amongst weeds and raspberries and God knows what else. I just gonna let this garden sort itself out for this year. In the fall I'll dig up the sunchokes and basically deal with all the weeds. The sunchokes will outgrow everything anyway, so I'm not worried about them sort of losing, right? They're just so aggressive as growers. So in the fall I'll dig this all up and come up with a plan for next year. I got sunchokes planted outside the garden enclosure out here as well. These ones, they're coming up fine, but a little bit of shade here, so they're not coming up as well. My Saskatoons appear to be forming berries. Right, so that's a first. Okay, so that's good news. This one, I thought there was another plant over here, but maybe it didn't. There it is. I don't know if that's it. That's it. Yeah, there's two Saskatoons, but only one plant. I don't know how on earth it pollinated if there was only one plant, but anyway, yeah, Saskatoon might have berries this year. In this bed I planted corn. Needs a good mulch, but I think it must have been potatoes last year because there's a potato right there. We'll have volunteer, as they say. But this corn's coming up great. Over here we got the, oh, what's these called? I can't remember what these are called. I think I'm getting to that point where it's like a blueberry, but it's not. Why can't I remember what these are called? Anyway, they're really popular, sort of trendy berry these days. And I got these given to me by Whiffle Tree Farms a couple years ago. And they're coming in really nice. I've never eaten these something berries. And they're supposed to be really good. So I can't wait to pick them and try them out. It seems to be a really productive plant. Got garlic here. The lovage that I moved last year. Remember, when I moved this, it was growing 6 feet high every year. Last year it was pretty sad and pathetic. This year it's still growing, so it looks like it's doing a lot better next year. I imagine next year it'll be back to its 6 foot high growing pattern. Lovage is a plant that sort of tastes like celery. Well, it basically is celery in all the ways that matter. So if you're growing one lovage plant, you don't need to grow any celery, because celery is really not a food, it's a flavor. This is celery flavor. All the celery flavor you can handle. I don't care how much celery you eat. It's a very powerful, strong tasting celery flavored plant. More garlic over here. Coming up good. This bed, if I'm going to do something with this, I have to do something with it soon. So this bed is full of wild mustard greens. And actually we just ate a whole bunch last night. So I like mustard greens. And I don't have to do anything. It's just, they just grow themselves here. But you know, how much mustard greens does one need, right? And you can see they're not planted in any sort of intelligent way. They're just everywhere, right? Because then there was a mustard green plant here. It went to seed, and now I've got mustard greens everywhere. What I really need to do is come in here and just take a hoe to it or something and go to town. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this bed. Whatever I'm going to do with it, I got to do it soon, right? Because it's the middle of June, and if anything is going to grow and become anything by the end of the growing season, it has to get in pretty soon. Anyway, another one of those, I can't remember what that's called. Something berry plants. Again, this one's coming in good, right? And so is this one. So I had 3 of those something plants. They're all really healthy and just seem to be really productive. So I can't wait. Haskap, that's what they're called. Haskap. Right, so I got 3 Haskap plants, and I'm just amazed at the vigor and the healthfulness of these plants, right? And these were just whipped when I planted them, as I recall, right? Just a little stick you stick in the ground. But they've really grown well, so I'm happy with that. I almost forgot, I got my terraced garden here. So this year I decided, because nothing seemed to grow well in it last year, to move some of the sorrel up here. So that's 2 of these. When you're growing sorrel, you should always break these flowers off when they appear, right? Or you're gonna have more sorrel than you can shake a stick at. Right? They're doing great because sorrel's invincible. Doesn't seem to be the case that the deer walk right along this trail here. It doesn't seem to be the case that the deer care for it at all. But all these potatoes are coming up great, right? So if you ever have a bed and you're just not getting good results, I always say plant potatoes or plant beans. Now, beans would be a mistake up here. They'd get eaten by everything, but I find potatoes to be relatively deer-proof. So yeah, they seem to be doing okay. I mean, we'll see what kind of yield and harvest we get. Just potatoes under hay, under straw. Anyway, that's where we are, middle of June 2022. I can feel the presence of the black flies showing up, so it's time to get out of here for now and go make some breakfast. If you want to help support the channel, sure, check out my sponsors. I'm going to run a thing for my sponsors at the end of this video, but also maybe think about subscribing to my Substack page, Maritime Gardening at Substack. No, maritimegardening.substack.com. I write articles. I write 1 a week. If you spend $30 a year, you get basically full access to everything I've ever written. It's been a fun project writing. I talk about a lot of things I talk about In my videos, because I'm writing, you just have more time to deliberately work out your thought process and basically formulate a proper essay, right? $30 for a year or $5 a month. Check that out. Anyway, that's it for the video. That's it for the garden tour. I hope you found this interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. Hey folks, want to help support everything I'm doing here? Check out my sponsors, Beets Seeds and Safer's Gardening Products. For Beets, go to their website, beets.com, and use my coupon code GAVS22, and you'll get free shipping as long as there's a pack of seeds in your order and there's no oversized items in your order. Check out the description box of this video for details. For Safer's products, Woodstream products, you can buy all the things I use in my garden, slug and snail killer, BTK, and all. You can buy that from Beets, or you can go to their websites for a much wider range of products to solve just about any kind of problem that you can imagine with high quality natural ingredients like oils from seeds and flowers and stuff like that. If you're in Canada, go to woodstreambrands.ca, and as long as your order is over $69, you get free shipping. If you're in the United States of America, then go to saferbrand.com, and as long as your order is over $45 US, you'll get free shipping from them. So yeah, if you want to help support the channel and the podcast, and they sell something you need, buy from them, and that'll help support everything I'm doing here. Thanks a lot.